Hello, precious friends. Thank you for joining me again in Chef Patty's Kitchen on the Carnivore Hippie channel. It's good to be with you. You may have seen going around some videos of something called fluffy yogurt, and it's kind of being put out there as like definitely a keto dessert, but also maybe even as kind of a carnivore dessert. And I get it. If you've seen it, it does look interesting, and I thought it was would be a fun idea to play around with, but it uses something that I'm not really thrilled about, which is sugar-free instant pudding powder. There's some ingredients in there that I personally would rather avoid. If anybody else wants to eat whatever they want to eat, me. It's no skin off my nose, but I thought there must be kind of a cleaner way to do it. And as I was playing around with it, I realized this probably wasn't going to be as simple and as straightforward and as convenient to make as the fluffy yogurt that's going around in the viral video. But I did find something that I think is wonderful. It's a little more effort than fluffy yogurt, but it has very much the same sort of feel to it, and it avoids pretty much processed food, or ultra processed food anyway. It's very versatile. You can make it in any flavor. In fact, I'll probably post some other videos about other flavors you can make it. But today we're going to do what I got to call yogurt mousse. And so let's get right into it. So here we go. The first thing we're going to do is we have here 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, mixed with 2 teaspoonfuls of water. And what we're going to do is we got half a teaspoon of gelatin powder. This is grass-fed beef gelatin from Micro Ingredients, but any kind of gelatin powder will be fine. Just sprinkle it right as evenly as you can on top of the liquid. And we are going to set this aside to bloom, and that's going to take probably about 5 minutes. And in the meantime, we're going to go on with the rest of our process. So I'm going to set this aside. So here, friends, what we got is half a cup of very thick whole milk Greek yogurt. Some Greek yogurts, just as a caveat, are not as thick as others. And you want to look for one that doesn't have any gelatin or starch in it. And the reason you don't want gelatin or starch in it is because well, starch, obviously, you just don't want starch, but you don't want gelatin, even though it's an okay food, is because the gelatin is put in so that they don't have to strain the yogurt as much to get the same thick texture. So I prefer to get my Greek yogurt with no gelatin in it. That way, if it's not quite the texture that I want, I can just put it in the refrigerator over a coffee filter and in a bowl and strain out the remaining liquid until it's as thick as I want. So if you have a yogurt that's runnier than this, go ahead and just put it in the refrigerator on a straining rig for, overnight, and then measure out a half a cup and go on from here. This is Cabot brand, by the way, which I like a great deal. And here we have a 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. And we're just going to beat this up a little bit and get it kind of fluffy. I was doing this in separate bowls, but I figured out you don't have to do it that way. You can do it more conveniently. So I got the yogurt, you can see, is all up in a ball. And I'm just going to use the curve of the bowl to kind of separate the cream from the yogurt. And we're going to whip the cream just a little bit, just until it starts to incorporate some air. And this is going to help us with creating the mousse later on. Of course you want to start with cold ingredients. And once you've got the cream to soft peaks, you can just go ahead and start whipping in the rest of the yogurt. Okay, you can see that's relatively stiff. it holds a peak when you lift it. And that's good. That's exactly what we want. So the next thing we have is we have an orange, because we're going to make this orange flavored, but don't freak out. We're not going to use the orange juice. We're going to use the orange rind. If you want to give something a really, really profound natural orange flavor, but you don't want to include the carbs, I have found that if you use lemon juice and orange rind, it will give you just a wonderful orange flavor with no carbs to speak of, really. So what I got here is I'm going to show you a trick. You can do this on a microplane grater. You've seen me do that with lemon rind. But I'm going to show you, if you don't have a microplane grater, I'm going to show you another trick of how you can use a different kind of grater. This is a ginger grater or a wasabi grater. And I have just covered it wrapped it with a layer of plastic wrap that you can see right here, and stretched it pretty tight. And so the little teeth on the grater are poking through the plastic. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to use this, and you just scrape it. This is probably going to be a little easier for some people to use than a microplane grater, because you can rest it on the board. Just make sure that you grate gently and don't get a lot of that white stuff underneath. And then once you've done this, you can use the orange for whatever you want, you know, cut it up and give it to your kids or whatever. Okay? And if there's anything stuck left on so you can just put that on right there. And there you go. We got about a half a teaspoon of orange rind. That's easy as that. Now we'll, if I can get this to come off. It's kind of stuck. Come on. Oh well. I'll get this off in a second. That's annoying. Make sure you can remember which way you wrapped the plastic wrap when you do it. Okay, so this way you don't have a bunch of orange rind stuck in the little teeth of your ginger grater or your wasabi grater, and that makes it way easier to clean off. So now, here we have our whipped up stuff, and we're just going to scrape our rind right off of here and right into the bowl. Very easy to get it out of the grater, easy to pick it up. There you go. Like I say, that's about a half a teaspoon. You can use as much as you want, but be careful. Strong stuff. Our next ingredient is going to be 2 tablespoons of allulose. You can use as much or as little sweetener as you want in this. If you can use a low volume sweetener like stevia drops, but I'm just going to go with this. And I'm also going to put in a pinch of salt, just a tiny pinch. And this is honey flavoring. It's from a company called Loran. I really, really like it in this recipe. If you don't have honey flavoring, you can put vanilla, or you can just not put anything in. But I'm just going to put in a couple of drops. This is really super concentrated, just because I like it. There's probably about 3 drops. Oh, I love the smell of it with the honey and the orange. Oh my goodness. There we go. Now, we're going to set that to a side. And now here we have our gelatin is bloomed. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take it over to the microwave, and we're going to microwave it on high for probably about 15 seconds just to get the gelatin melted. This has to be melted. So I'll be right back. So here I have the gelatin. It is completely melted. This ended up taking 10 seconds. You want to stand by it, friends. Start with, if you have a real strong microwave, start with like 5 seconds at a time if you have to, because you really don't want this to boil. It will make a horrible mess in your microwave and you'll have to start over, and that's no fun. So now we're going to set this aside to cool because it does have to get hot in order to melt. So we're going to let that cool for 5 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to prepare a couple of molds. This recipe will make 2 servings. And so we got 2 little dishes here. And I am going to oil them up a little bit with some avocado oil, but you could use ghee or whatever you want to use. The avocado oil spray is just really convenient. And that particular brand, this particular brand, Chosen Foods, is pure avocado oil. They don't put any propellants in here. It's just sprayed out with compressed air. So there's only oil and air in this can. So oil that up. Here we go. And that's so when we take them out of the refrigerator after we're done refrigerating them, when they're all done, you can serve them in little cups like this, or you can turn it over onto a little plate and make a cute little mold. And I like to do that because, you know, I like my food to look fancy because I'm a garnish monkey. Okay, friends, we're about halfway through, believe it or not. So we've got our yogurt, our fluffed up yogurt flavored with sweetener and orange. And we have our melted gelatin. It's cooled almost to room temperature. It's barely warm. And we are going to put this right in here. And we don't want it to be too warm, but neither do we want it to be too cold. Because if it's too cold, what'll happen is it'll just chunk up as soon as it hits the cold yogurt. And then it'll make little chunks and bumps that, frankly, you will never get out of here. Now at this point, it's not looking quite as fluffy, but that's okay. Believe me, there's plenty of little air bubbles in there still. And if you want to, we can hit it again for a minute, for 30 seconds or so. Now, if you wanted to, you could stop there. It wouldn't be near as fluffy as this next step. And this next step, honestly, friends, is a bit weird. So, but, you know, trust me. What I have here is 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder. The fluffy yogurt uses baking powder. This is baking soda. Please don't use baking powder. It won't work the same way in this recipe. Bicarbonate of soda, okay? And I am going to use this strainer to make sure it doesn't have any lumps, because you really see that lump there? That lump will not break down if it goes down into the mass, because we're done beating it. We're not going to beat it up anymore. We're going to sift that right in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to very gently, we're going to start folding, because as this baking soda interacts with the acid in the yogurt and the lemon juice, it's going to react and create carbon dioxide, and the little seed bubbles that we introduced with the whipping are going to hold on to all that gas, and this stuff is going to fluff up. Now, I don't know if you can see it, But when you do this at home, you'll be able to see the stuff is actually growing in the bowl. It grows probably by about a third of its volume again. So you start with 3/4 of a cup of volume with the cream and the yogurt, and you got over a cup right here because it has fluffed up so much. So, and now, right quick, we're going to put this in our little molds. These are 1/2 cup ramekins. You can see they are completely full. Now these are 1 cup. Never mind. And you can see they're full. So we have obviously more. Plenty to fill them up. So we went from 3/4 of a cup volume to almost 2 cups. Just smooth it off. Okay, I overfilled this one. Relax, Patty. It's not that important. This is going to be the bottom anyway. I don't know why I'm flipping out about it. We're going to turn it over when we go. So, got some plastic wrap. Just going to press that down on there just to make sure it stays pristine. And to make sure the dairy doesn't form a skin when exposed to air, which can happen. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. So we're going to do that. And this is going in the refrigerator for about 2 hours. And then we'll be back to show you the deliciousness. Friends, take it from me. You're going to want to lick the bowl on this one. Welcome back, precious friends. We are about to get in the refrigerator and get out our chilled orange yogurt mousse, and we're going to demold it and plate it up, and then we're going to taste it, and it's going to be so delicious. Let's get going. So here we are, friends. Here we have our orange yogurt mousse, and here we have a bowl of warm water, and here we have a service plate. So this water is probably about 120 degrees. And we're going to take the plastic off. And we're going to lower the container right down into the water. And we're just going to leave it there for about 10-15 seconds, just enough to warm the bowl up. And make sure you don't drop it all the way down into the water. You want the water just to come up to the edge of the bowl. Okay, that should be good. And the next thing we're going to do is we have a sharp knife, and we're just going to run the knife just around the edge. We're not going to poke it all the way down inside. We're just going to loosen up the very, very edge. And then to unmold it, we're going to invert the plate onto the cup, not the other way around, okay? And then we're going to flip it. And you should see when you go to lift, it's a little slippery because of the water. Okay, it's not moving. Okay, we're going to go back in the water. This happens sometimes, friends. This is a good lesson. We're going to give it about 10 more seconds. This is the drawback to molding things. You can, of course, make these in pretty little dishes and serve them in the dishes and just of course skip and have done with all of this fancy folderol. But you know me, I am an unashamed and unrepentant garnish monkey, and I want especially my desserts to look pretty. You know, when you had a French pastry course, it kind of gets stuck in your head. All right, plate on top and invert the whole thing. Okay, come on now, mold. Of course. So sometimes when this happens, what helps is to take the knife and just stick it down right along the side and get a little air pocket started. Okay? And now, once we got that little air pocket started, yes, now it's starting to come loose. There we go. Ta-da! There we are. And now, garnish. I've got a little strip of orange rind, and I'm going to, and I've cut a little strip and tied it into a knot. You see how pretty that is? And I'm going to drop it into a little granulated allulose to kind of make it look pretty. And we're going to put that right on the top. And look at that. Look at that, friends. Isn't that lovely? Oh, and now we are going to have to taste this. Here we are, friends. Doesn't that look just lovely and creamy and delicious? And it is. It's light and fluffy. So let's give it a taste here. So I'm going to take a scoop and look at the fluff. Look at that. Doesn't that look just sublime? I don't know what that was. So friends, the orange flavor is very pronounced. It is not too sweet. So, and there's definitely a trace of bitterness from the orange rind, which I like. Now, you could use a little less orange rind and a little more lemon juice, or you could leave the orange rind out altogether and just leave it lemon flavored. Or you can add a little bit more sweetener. This is not very sweet. It's just right as far as I'm concerned. But use a little more sweetener, a little less orange rind, a little more orange rind. It is light and creamy and melt in your mouth, and just the right amount of sweetness. And look at that beautiful little mountain of fluff. And what was I going to say? It's just knocked the words right out of my head. A drizzle of chocolate syrup would not be amiss on top of this if you see your way clear of doing that. But the other thing I was going to say is the baking soda, while it does create this lovely fluffiness, it also does something kind of interesting. You can taste the carbon dioxide in the fluff, because it kind of has a tingle on your tongue, sort of the same way you get a tingle on your tongue from drinking a soda pop. So the carbon dioxide gas that's stuck in the little bubbles inside the fluff does come out, and it does create a warming and sort of tingling sensation on your tongue, so be prepared. But I happen to think that's part of the fun of this dessert, and it makes the whole experience much more interesting. The baking soda does not have any other taste besides that kind of warmth and tingle on the palate, which, like I said, is unusual and interesting. I'm going to keep eating this. Anyway, there it is. Orange yogurt mousse. You can do lots of other flavors. I'm planning on doing a video on chocolate flavor, which you won't want to miss. But as for now, that's it. I hope you try it. I hope you love it. And join me again next time on Chef Patty's Kitchen on the Carnivore Hippie channel. Like, share, subscribe. Help me out. Join me over on Facebook. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.